Welcome back to Math 101, everybody. It seems that we have to go through this regularly. I am Sheepdog Smokey, and we're looking at a CNN page today. Tax refunds. Red states doing better than blue states. Most American taxpayers got a tax cuts last year, thanks to the new tax law. They may just not have realized it, and their filing returns Monday won't help make it clearer. Refunds have barely risen this year. Final data from the IRS won't be available for some time, but the tax preparer H&R Block reports that on average, its client's tax liability, how much federal tax they paid, is down by a lot, almost 25%. But the average refund, how much they get back from the government after filing their annual returns, is up just 1.4%, barely at all. That's just for people who got refunds in both the 2017 and 2018 tax years. It does not include people who went from getting a refund last year to paying the IRS this year. And there's a political divide. Red states will enjoy the biggest increase in refunds. However, several blue states are seeing the largest average tax cuts compared with last year. H&R Block processes around 20 million returns each year, and its figures here are for returns filed through the end of March. These numbers will change since many people who will owe money may not have filed yet. People who expect refunds tend to file earlier, according to Nathan Rigney, lead tax research analyst at the Tax Institute at H&R Block. Less detailed filing season data from the IRS through March 29 shows the government has paid 2.2% fewer refunds so far, and the average refund of $28.73 is $20 smaller than it was in 2018. And the IRS has paid $6 billion less in tax refunds this year, almost 3% less than last year. That's a lot of psychology associated with how Americans pay their taxes, which means people could be seriously disappointed in the massive 2017 tax cut law, which brought them a temporary cut, give corporations a much larger permanent tax rate reduction, and is expected to make the U.S. government's budget deficits spiral in excess of $1 trillion each year starting in 2022. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to just kind of address this one the way I would were I teaching a class full of teenagers. In 2016, working, so this would be your 2016 tax year filed in 2017, you have a certain tax rate that is applied to your paycheck for your withholdings. This is a combination of federal income taxes, Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, state income taxes, and so on. With the tax cut passed in 2017, your 2017 return is affected by that. Now, this is where they lose track of reality. The tax cut does not only apply when you file your taxes, it applies all year long. And I'm going to go with a very generic and very basic idea. If you make $40,000 a year, and prior to the tax cut, your average tax rate was 25% per year, that's $10,000 per year. If over the course of that year, like me, you file as single with no dependents, even though I can claim myself, and you're taxed at 30% per year, which would have been $12,000, you have paid $2,000 too much. Thus, when you file your taxes, one moment please, pardon me, when you file your taxes, your tax burden is less than your taxes paid, so you receive a refund. Now, moving into the tax cut, your tax burden is decreased from 25% to 15%, or in actuality, $6,000. Like me, you file single none all year and single one during your tax season. So instead of your now 15%, you are charged at, I'll go with 17.5%, which means you would have paid $13,000. No, I'm sorry, you would have paid $7,000. You see where I'm getting at here? You paid less taxes all year long. You still get a refund because you overpaid, but your refund is not the same because your tax burden went down. You're taxed less through the year because your tax bracket is now lower. You're not taxed all year long at the same amount you were during the tax year 2016. So if you pay less taxes all year long and you owe less at the end of the year by your tax burden, your refund will not be the same or more than it was when you paid more all year long and your tax burden was higher. Using tax income refunds is a flawed metric. It is more fake news used to attack the basic fact that everyone received a tax cut. If you make $20,000 a year, your tax cut will be less actual dollars than someone who makes 100,000 or 10,000 or 1 million or 1,000 a year. The mantra that businesses, this is just a tax cut for the rich, just for the rich. No, the rich save more actual dollars because their tax burden is much higher. I would love to actually be able to talk to some of these people and say, let's do an experiment. Everyone across the board will receive a 10% tax cut. Now, I'm going to assign some salaries to you that are your salaries before the tax cut, and they will be your salary after the tax cut. So your salary will not change. 40,000, 100,000, 250,000, 1 million. Then we apply your tax burden, and we'll make it the same for everyone, 30%. And we figure out what that is. And now we say we're going to take 10% less, so it's now 20% tax burden. Just to get he saved more. He saved more. Why does he get a larger tax cut? He doesn't. He received a 10% tax cut. Because his salary is higher, 10% of 100,000 is more than 10% of 40,000. 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. 10% of 40,000 is 4,000. You cannot say someone saved more actual dollars than me, so it's unfair. It's just bad math, bad logic, and it proves that CNN is fake news. They are on the side of the liberal Democratic Party, hell-bent on raising taxes until everyone is so beholden to the government for everything that we are in a true Orwellian society. And they won't admit this because they can't admit it. If they do, people will run from them in droves and they will be off the air because they can't afford it. They have to couch this in, well, it was a tax cut for the rich. Only the rich got a cut. And they have to actually convince people that because you paid less taxes, you didn't get a tax cut. I can tell you, my tax refund was actually a bit more than $100 less this year than it was last year. But my tax burden all year long was also quite a bit less. My actual paychecks were larger all year, and I still ended up getting a refund because I got a tax cut under the 2017 tax cut bill. We have a serious lack of logic and critical thinking at all levels of society. And unfortunately, it is only getting worse because we have people who are in positions where they're supposed to teach young people and they don't. I've said before, I am certified to teach high school social studies, or secondary social studies as far as it is officially called. That would be history, economics, government, geography, psychology, sociology, social psychology. Economics would be where I would teach about taxes. And were I a teacher right out of college several years ago, and already in the position when this tax cut was applied, I would have used it for a lesson for a couple of days, gathering real data and real salary numbers and real percentages so that I could show them that yes, the CEO of Starbucks received a larger dollar amount in tax savings than the manager at the local Starbucks he passes every morning. But that is because the CEO of Starbucks makes more per check, pays more in taxes per check, and thus when the percentage is applied, his dollar amount savings is larger. But the percentage is not nearly as diverse as the numbers are. But we have people teaching social studies who also coach. And in the modern era, coaching is seen as more important than many teachers because coaching, if you win, brings in money. High school coaches here in Texas especially are paid very well because the more games you win, the more tickets you sell, the more concessions you sell, the more booster club donations come in, the more money comes into the school and the district. So these coaches are given this part-time job where they teach 1, 2, maybe 3 classes a day, sometimes a week, so that they have a full schedule every day, rather than being told, well, your salary is this. We need you on campus during school hours, whether you are doing conference calls with parents, coaching during one of your coaching periods, or just in your office reviewing and making sure everything is ready. Maybe in a conference with the district to let them know what you're going to need materials wise. They could still be a successful coach, probably more successful because they're not taking any time out of their day to give a half hearted attempt at teaching. I remember when I was in high school, though, they all taught sciences, not social sciences. And I could tell the difference between my biology teacher, who was a coach, and my chemistry teacher, who was full time. It was just the attitude because he was thinking, I have so much to do outside of teaching. My chem teacher, that's all she did. And this is a major problem for the education system. The social sciences are an incredibly important part of the education of young people. And as such, that's rightly such. But it needs to be taught full time by someone who can dedicate the entirety of their attention to that subject so that we no longer graduate students from high school who don't know what's in the Constitution, who can't figure out their own taxes, who don't know what the difference is between brackets, who don't know what the difference is between someone saying, well, the founders didn't know that we would have semi-automatic weapons, but they knew we'd have smartphones with Twitter. It's called critical thinking, and it's not taught anymore. Students right now are being taught what to think, not how to think. And that's a very dangerous proposition. And this proves it, because this right here is a story written by adults. And whether purposefully ignorant or just accidentally ignorant of the fact that if you pay less in taxes all year long, there's less there to take your tax burden out of. Even if your tax burden goes down, you're not going to have the same amount of refund as you did before the tax cut was applied. And when this is pointed out, of course, everyone is insulted that you just don't get that they're just right. And that attitude of entitlement ruins conversations. But I've talked long enough about this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Keep the comments civil. Make sure that we're having a debate, not an argument which we don't learn from. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe and share this video so others can join the conversation. You'll also probably want to turn on notifications so that you are the first to know of new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.